Do silencio ve oprimido sol, do escuridão ve oprimida luz, do nada nacem todas as coisas. Confused? Because I certainly was. That right there was nothing. It made no sense to you. It had no meaning, no grounding, no structure. But yet, it caught your attention, didn't it? And that's where all great things begin. In confusion, in what seems like nonsense. Ex nihilo, from nothing. My name's Aaron. I'm a grade 12 student. And if there's one thing I've learned, is that clarity never comes first. It always follows. I want you all to just remember that phrase for later. But for now, let's bring it closer to home. To those times when we feel like it's made of nothing. Those moments when you're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering, what now? If you're anything like me, you've had this moment where you're wondering, what is my life? And in that moment, you genuinely believe you're confused, you're lost. But then, that moment is very messy, it's confusing. But here's what I've realized. Starting from nothing is never empty. It's full of every version of yourself. And there's actually a scientific term for this. It's a term for starting from nothing. It's a beautiful limbo that we find ourselves in. It's called superposition, or as I like to call it, the science of maybe. It's a bit of a headache of a concept to understand, but in simple terms, it means this. Until something is measured or observed, it doesn't choose a moment. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're playing a video game, one of those open world ones, where your character can go left, right, or jump onto a building. Imagine you're playing one of those video games, the open world ones, where a character can go left, right, jump on a building and start a mission. But nothing happens until the moment you press a button or move the joystick. Nothing is committed here. Everything could still happen. That is superposition. And if you think about it, we're all the people we're all the character in the video game. You could be 16, 17, or 18, or pushing 60s. You could still move cities, start a business. All of those options still technically exist in your future. But the moment you choose, the moment you pick a path, your wave collapses and you start becoming. And here's the scientific beauty of it. Superposition means you're never starting from nothing. You're starting from every version of you that could be. And maybe that's why beginnings feel so overwhelming. Because you're not starting as one version of yourself. You're starting as every version of you that could possibly exist. The filmmaker, the marine biologist, the doctor, they're all folded up inside of you. All it takes is one move, one step to push you forward, to give your future wings and bring your dreams to life. And speaking of dreams, not the ones that we chase during the day, or the kind that Nelson Mandela had, but the ones that visit us when the world quiets and our minds begin to wander. We spend about a third of our lives asleep, and about 20% of that is in a phase called REM, or rapid eye movement sleep. That's when dreams happen. Your brain becomes incredibly active, almost like it's awake. But then your body remains completely still, paralyzed. That's your brain's way of making sure you don't start acting out your dreams. But here's what's cool. During REM, there's no external input. There's no logic, no control, no sense. Yet, your brain starts creating entire new scenarios, new memories, new scenes out of completely nothing. And that makes you wonder, if your brain can do something that seems so impossible while you're completely knocked out, maybe the things in life that seem impossible are quietly happening in the background. Let me give you an example. For years, scientists believed the bumblebee should not be able to fly. Its body was too heavy and its wingspan was too small. And according to all laws of aerodynamics known by the top scientists, it should not have gotten off the ground. And yet, it did. Not because it suddenly started breaking the laws of physics, but because our understanding of the laws was incomplete. That's the magic of the unknown. Maybe the thing that we find impossible is waiting for a new way to express itself tomorrow. And maybe that's how I felt about my own dreams. Ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a pilot. Genuinely, up until just a few months ago, that was a dream. The skies, the thrill, the control, it felt right. But then, deep down, I always had this calling towards medicine, a path that seemed less obvious, less me. And for the longest time, I neglected it, because every doctor that I ever met started from a whole family line filled with doctors, and my family, not a single one. But then, I came across a speech by a professor, probably one of the only speeches that ever got me hooked. He picked up a glass of water and got in front of his classroom and asked his students, "How much do you think this glass of water weighs?" Now, if I were to ask everyone seated here that question, I'd get a ton of different answers. But the weight of the glass wasn't the point. He said, "The absolute weight of the glass doesn't matter. What matters is how long you hold on to it. Hold on to it for a minute, nothing happens. Hold it for an hour, and your arm begins to ache. Hold it all day long, and your arm begins to go numb, paralyzed." The fears of starting from nothing is like that glass of water. Think about it for a little bit, and it helps you plan. Think about it on and on again, and it inhibits you from doing anything else. So, I stopped overthinking, and I started doing. I switched from computer science student to a biology student. I started talking to student professionals, to doctors. I went to hospitals with a CV in hand, and it was absolutely terrifying. In fact, it still is. But every step of the way taught me something. That it's okay to begin from nothing. That the most fabulous journeys, the most extraordinary outcomes, they all begin from nothing. So to anyone out there holding on to a glass of doubt, maybe it's time to put it down. As we wrap up, I want to go visit that phrase I said earlier at the start of the speech that sounded like useless gibberish. Do silencio ve ao primeiro som, da escuridão ve ao primeiro luz, do nada nascem todas as coisas. It actually means, from silence comes the first sound, from darkness comes the first light, and from nothingness, all things are born. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are having built an entire conversation from that nothing, proving that nothing is truly empty. It's filled with opportunity, waiting for you to make a move. So to anyone out there holding on to a glass of doubt, feeling confused, or feeling stuck, remember, clarity never comes first. It always follows. Thank you.